Good morning, and welcome back. Welcome back to Who Am I? Who am I? My own little invention over here in my little corner of the woods, where I'm going to spend approximately the next hour or so musing, pondering, ruminating upon the nature of reality. Because it's not as well understood as we might imagine. And there's plenty of room to get in there and do some enlightening. So who am I? Who am I? Where did I come from? What is, why am I here? Where am I going? What's the object of the exercise? What is the nature of my biotechnology? What is the nature and rules of this matrix that I have been born into? How is it moving? How am I moving? What am I made of? How do I operate my own equipment? How does it work? So we're going to dive right in. We're going to muse about a lot of these things. We're going to marry a couple of ideas. And by the way, the authors of these ideas have never met me and have no idea who I am. I'm going to be talking about, I'm marrying law of attraction and unified physics and some Jungian psychology thrown in there, as well as, it's absolutely my own perspective. But we're going to muse and ponder about this for about the next hour. It is my belief that if mankind had a better general view of who we were from a positive perspective, that we could organize ourselves more effectively, more beneficially, more fairly, more abundantly. There's all kinds of ways that humanity could do what we do best, or better, if we understood who we were and how the whole thing works. Now, I know a lot of people have an inherent resistance to law of attraction because in their perspective, it does not seem to them that everyone does have control over their own experience. Especially if you only believe that we are here for one brief life and then all the rest of our existence is spent in the spirit realm. If you believe that, then things get trickier because it's hard to imagine how it could be fair that if you only have one life, you spend it for 30 minutes or so as a half-starved baby in Ethiopia, say, and then covered with flies, and now you're dead. Is that fair? And that's your only life? And if you believe we're all in this together and we're all churning life together, and you come into a physical body if you want to. I came into this physical body, I believe, because I wanted to. And I think that that's what all life does. It wants to live. It wants to be. And when we die, I think what happens is we realize how connected we really are. And that dream of being separate that we had when we were alive, that is actually the one that's a dream. The reality is that we are all in this together and we're all very deeply connected, and it's all love, liquid love. It's all, and we're connected at a really fundamental level. So law of attraction says a couple things. It says things like we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And I was source energy before I came into this body, and the larger part of me still is. And well, that's Esther's words. I actually don't exactly like those words, so I don't know why I said them, except for I want people to recognize that I have assimilated Esther's general idea. I know what she's saying. We are two beings. And one of them is purely vibrational. She calls it, and I like this verbiage, the inner being. It's your inner being. You have an inner being. You are two spinning points of attraction, actually. Discs of attraction, sometimes she calls them. Vortices of attraction. The vortex. Get into the vortex, where your inner being is tending to all of the things that you have been choosing your whole physical experience. This is what I like. This is what I want. This is what I love. This is what I choose. Now, you may not be turned and pointed in the direction of what you have chosen. You might be all gobbed up in noticing things you don't like. And this is where I get off when I start interacting with people. If they are thinking, so I don't know very many people who can see the big picture and talk about big things and still be talking about what they like. Because usually, by the time you get to that point, you're talking about the destruction of the planet, or you're talking about sixth mass extinction, or global climate change, or wars going on between, around the world, or usually the big things that we talk about. Actually, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I would like to talk about. I would like to talk big things from a positive perspective, because in actual fact, when I assimilated the work of Abraham, I found it very, very good news, very heartening news to know that all beings, all of us, have an inner being that is guiding our steps. And so even my enemies, have an inner being that's trying to reach them, trying to get them to go in the direction of what would serve us all. Now, I found that very, very good news, because so what is my pure positive perspective? Well, I don't actually. There's a problem when I start that way. It's not that we're just going to talk about who we are and what we're made of and what the nature of the universe is. And then when we've got a clear understanding from that direction, now you turn and look at what physical reality looks like it's handing you. And then you go, oh, this is way different. This is way different than what I thought the project was. And all of the problems that we have, and all of the avenues to fix those, I'm air quoting the word problems, that we have now, become quite a bit more illuminated. You're like, oh, if that's what we are, and that's what the field is, and that's what this matrix is that we are all a part of, that's what it is and how it functions, and this is my biotechnology and my biotechnological design and how I function. And so the object of the exercise, it's to align my two selves so that I can align my bigger two selves. So you have two selves, your inner being inside of you, and then your physical being that you are, and then you're actually another being. You are the super being that we all are, humanity. And then you're bigger than that. You are the biofield too. And then it starts getting bigger and bigger. You're the whole planet. You're the solar system, the galaxy, the universe, the multiverse. As you line up from the inside out, then you start being more in cohesive alignment with the field around you, without bumping and scraping and all of that. By the way, who am I? Who am I? Who is the host of the show? Who am I? Well, for the purposes of the show, I go by the name Amelie Starchild, which of course is not my name, but I have felt that my actual identity is not important. It's the ideas that are important, and I want us all to get these ideas so that we can be more peaceful and loving and kind to one another. I only want us to love one another, and I really do not like it when we don't get along. I want to spend my life hugging the people that I care about and not getting into quarrels with them or whatever, on large or small levels. That's including my family as well as the rest of mankind. Lord knows I do not want us to get into any kind of global warfare kind of conflict. It would be so stupid. At this point, we're not nearly separated enough for it to make any sense. I imagine that there are vital parts that only the Chinese make, that go into our computers, and they've been making our computers for the longest time. If we ever declare war on them, they probably just push a little button and all of our computers just tell them everything that they know. Who knows? It's not safe. It never was, but it's definitely not safe now. World war is really not an option. And people should not foolishly think that it is an option. What really we should be doing is understanding who we are. And then the implications are, first of all, clean, free energy. The next of the implications are, wow, now we understand what gravity is. And all of our systems that, like our rocketry, for instance, which is built on trying to overcome gravity directly by blasting holes through our atmosphere using these thrusting, phallic symbols, burning fossil fuels. It's ridiculous, actually, and what it shows is a deep misunderstanding of the nature of the biofield and the matrix and 0-point energy and consciousness and the feedback system and the almighty everything and who we are. It's actually just shows absolutely that we don't know who we are. So who are we? Well, we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. And we are also transmitters and receivers. Our consciousness is not an epiphenomenon of us having evolved to a human being, and now consciousness arises from this matter that we are. It's like matter is arising from consciousness, is what's happening. It's arising from coherence in the field. And it's a feedback structure. And the whole field has consciousness sort of ingrained in it. We're going to discover that as we study artificial intelligence and as we study how it loops back what we feed into it. We're going to see our nightmares amplified, and then we're going to see our dreams amplified, and then we're going to realize what we are. And what this whole field is, it's just this magical, reflective matrix. Now, the whole thing is love and connection, and you will find when you die that the whole thing, you're gonna see it. All of the resistances that you have in this physical density will fall away. But you can see a lot of stuff now, because really, life is the only side. And so when you are not in a physical body, you're still looking at life, and you're still part of the whole structure. You're just no longer impeded by the vested interests of the specific physical point that you're coming from. So you're not clouded by your own fears or lusts or hungers or any of that sort of thing. You can see it more equanimically. Equal. It's even. You see it more evenly. You're like, oh, that's what it is. That's what I'm looking at. That's what the structure means. So, neither Esther Hicks nor Nassim Haramein have ever met me. And although I did go to I went to an Esther Hicks Abraham cruise back in 2022. That was a great one to go to, too. That was back in March of 2022. The world was just starting out cruising again, getting over our fears of COVID and all that sort of thing. So it was pretty lightly, it was only about 1,000 of us. Maybe 1,100 on the ship, and maybe 900 of us were there to see the Abraham conference. It was pretty cool. But I've never met Nassim Haramein. And so neither one of these people have officially what's the word? Sanctioned my version of what I'm looking at, and it doesn't matter. Someday I would love to meet Nassim Haramein, because I totally get what he's saying about the structure of the universe. But then I add a lot of stuff in on my own afterwards. We actually live in a universe that's kind of a wish-granting machine. If we would but understand how it works and work with it. If we would work with it, there is no limit to what we could co-create with this wonderful, marvelous, beautiful, abundant biofield that we are blessed with here on planet Earth. But we got to get over ourselves, and we have to understand our own responsibility every step of the way. And every individual needs to understand their own responsibility. Responsibility, but not blame. Nobody's blaming anybody. Blame should be off the table. Shame off the table. Guilt off the table. How do you understand this? How do you find your pure positive self and understand the overview, the broader perspective that each and every one of us actually has? Every one of us has a broader perspective. You just have to figure out a way to get your own smaller perspective out of the way. Now, you've got to be able to toggle between two viewpoints. Actually, your two viewpoints. You are your smaller self. And so when you are your smaller self, you're not getting yourself out of the way. You're being yourself. You are in yourself. You are full of yourself, There's that aspect of you, and then there's another aspect of you that includes the wholeness, where all of a sudden the specific self that you are fades into a smaller self. If you're going to see the broader perspective from its true, the proportions all correct, your broader perspective now shows your specific self as being rather small. So you got to get all this lined up. Who am I? And how does it work? Actually, focus and attention are the currency of the universe. I'm just going to go peek at something. I shouldn't, because it's going to I don't have anybody yet, and that's okay. Focus and attention are the currency of the universe. And how you focus and what you put your attention on is going to determine what direction you go in life. The way you look with your eyes has a tendency, your body tends to follow that direction. Well, it works that way with your mind. And with who you are fundamentally and ultimately as a being of light in this universe. The way you are looking is determining the direction in which you go. Now, the way I heard Abraham put it was so beautiful. She put it that way quite a long time ago, and I only have heard it the day she said it in her seminar when she's talking to whoever it is that she's advising. I've never heard her clip it out and put it in anywhere else. But it's you are where you are, and where you are is just fine. Or it may not be just fine, you determine that. It is just fine, though, wherever you are. Whether you are where you like or where you are where you don't like. It doesn't matter. We're not arguing about that. You are where you are, and where you are is just fine. But where you are does not last. And the way you choose to feel determines the direction in which you move. And so there you go. That's it right there. Whether you like where you are or whether you don't like where you are, you're moving. And the way you choose to feel is determining the direction in which you move. If you like the way you feel, then the direction you are moving is into fields of things that you will like. And if you don't like the way you feel, then you are physically moving into territory that you will not like the conditions. And that's actually what your feelings are telling you. And that is why it is very important to find a way to be okay in your own skin. Be okay in this world. Find a way. Find a way from wherever you are, from whatever understanding you can find. Be okay in this world. We are here actually for a threefold purpose. If you want to believe Abraham, and I do believe Abraham, we are here for joy. And we cannot help but expand. And let's see. And our nature, our nature is freedom. We are free. We are so free that we can choose. We are so free to choose. We can choose anything. We are so free we can choose bondage. That's her word. She likes that. But, and then she makes jokes about this. Freedom, growth, and joy. And then the audience says, we hear you, Abraham. Growth, 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 growth. And that's funny. That's what people tend to focus on. They focus on the bigger, the expansion, my kingdom, my, I'm my bank account, my dreams, my billion-dollar mega business that I'm going to create. Well, I don't want to create a billion-dollar business. I want to live in a world where everyone around me generally understands who they are and what the whole project of life and being a human being is all about. What is the object of the exercise? Well, to paraphrase a little bit, to take a little bit of the spirit of the idea from Abraham, I believe that the object of the exercise is joyful sustainability for all of us, each to whatever role they want to play. And actually, you already can do that. Just don't focus conditionally as you find your way. Focus inside. Focus from the inside, looking outwards. So you're still looking at the outside world, but you're looking at it from the inside out instead of focusing on the outside. And then, I don't know, you've got to know that you are two beings. And when you go anywhere without your inner one, it feels bad. You just got to know that. You are two selves. You are two minds. And one mind is probably operating beyond your frequency, beyond your immediate conscious recognition that it is doing so. You've got a greater mind that is involved with the wholeness of the universe and is having a good time even when you aren't. That's a very Abraham idea. She's talking about the consciousness of it being okay. Even when down here in the world of conditions, it seems like it isn't. And you go, wait a minute, there's two places? There's a conditional frame, and then there's a not conditional frame. That's the truth of it. There is a not conditional frame in your own consciousness where all the conditions also fit in too, by the way. But it's like, from that perspective, you can imagine all the conditions of all time and all place and nothing specific, and so it's, in a way, it's unconditional. Who am I? Who am I? So actually, when you are a flow of data and information is what you actually are. And when you get with that flow, with the rest of the universe, then it's like you can imagine your two minds getting in phase with one another. Your universal mind and your specific individual conditional mind. Whenever they start thinking anything like one another, the phases start piling up and the energy field, the energy expands. That's the way it is with the whole thing, with the whole 0-point energy field. When a part of the field comes into coherence, it starts belching out energy and stuff. Very cool. We could use this information to solve all of our problems. We could solve every single one of our problems. We have the technology, the specific technology to do any of the things we need to do. Resequester carbon into the ground if we need to do that. Suck it out of the air, resequester it back into the ground. We can desalinate ocean water. We can, actually, my husband was pointing out that it's not getting the salt out that is the most highest ticket price. It's was it bromide or something like that? There's something else that needs to be taken out that takes all the energy. But you know what? If we had tapped into free, clean energy everywhere, the energy factor to do whatever we needed to do would not be an issue. All of the things that we need to do, we have the technology. The one thing we don't understand collectively just yet is gravity. But once we collectively understand the 0-point energy field, and actually we do understand it. They do understand it over at the International Space Federation. And I don't know what the website is, but just go Google International Space Federation. I promise you, if you Google Nassim and all of his work, you're going to get people trying to testify that he's a kook and that his stuff is not peer-reviewed. His stuff is under peer review right now. And if you are one of his peers and you want to object to the mathematics of his paper, please do so. The problem is that it is so advanced that, it's going to take a very special kind of mathematician and physicist to A, understand it, and B, understand that it's wrong because it isn't wrong, it's right. And even I, from a layman's perspective, can see what he's getting at. How the whole system connects to itself. How the feedback, feed-forward, reflective system of consciousness, which is also reality, how it all works. It's very cool. It's a system of black holes all the way up and all the way down, down to the size of every proton is a black hole. Our sun has a black hole at the center of it. Our Earth has a black hole at the center of it, a singularity that has caused that's why there's a center of spin right there. That's why. And a black hole is not what we thought it was. It's not a monstrosity that is sucking all matter in around it. You know, actually the velocity of its spin is actually causing most things to it doesn't. Anyway, go look at the math. Go look at his work. It's amazing. Now, in the early days of this show, back when there literally was nobody ever watching, but I was still posting, but I was in a very obscure corner of the internet, and I didn't even dare describe my videos at all. I finally put the description on my videos and got a brief pulse of a brief flurry of activity. I got suggested to a number of people who joined me. I got 60 subscribers. I had a video that had over 300 watches. It was like, oh my gosh, somebody has listened to me, because I finally deigned to put any kind of description on my video. But I never change my description, so my description is always the same. And so no one ever finds it because, that's where you'd put it in the description of the, that's very interesting. Because I'm doing a whole body of work. Oh, it's so funny. So anyway, nobody ever finds me. And I know that it's not because I'm not interesting or that I'm not onto something. It's just that I haven't really wanted to let anybody in because, well, it's been private so far. I want to get good at being able to put it together before I invite the world in. I want to make sure that I know how this flows to that and how such and such relates to this and that and the other thing. And you know what I'm talking about. You are two selves. You are one self that is utterly vibrational. No physicality as you know it at all. It's sort of the you that is from your skin on out. And then there's the you that's from the skin on in. And it's not that your inner being doesn't know about you from the skin on in. She knows everything. She knows, and she especially knows how you interface with the rest of the field around that she also knows herself to be. You see how that works? Now, because she is connected to you at the point of your physicality, you could say she is you. From your point of view, she is you. And she is concerned about you because she is you. And she is the whole thing because she is your inner being, So how does it work? Both of you are how does it work? I wonder if I have anybody in the audience yet. I only have one person that listens to me live, and that's okay. At some point, I suppose I could invite others into the room, and I keep promising my video listeners that I will get more people into the room. And yet, oops, that's not where I am. And yet I don't ever seem to. I stay in my dark little corner. No, my buddy has not made it. But my stream looks good. Everything looks good. All right, well, if you don't make it during the live, I hope that you make it back for the video replay. It means I don't have to be distracted about, answering any of those pesky chat room questions. Nah, I can't take it personally because when I stay so well hidden and then nobody finds me, I can't really blame anybody but myself. And then I don't blame myself anyway. I assume that I am doing this for some good reason. I need to get better before I get lots and lots of people, listening to me unconditionally, listening to the understanding. Yes, you are responsible for the life that you're getting. Now, it's not because you've done anything wrong, though. That's not, say you're getting a big plate full of crap that you don't want. Debt and mean people around you and no job, no money, things are not working out, what, fill in the blank. You're getting X and you don't like it. How do you change that? How do you change that? Well, the first thing you really need to do is find a way to accept responsibility for your life without any blame. How do you do that? How do you recognize that you are responsible for your life without feeling like you have to blame yourself for your life? Your life's wonderful. First of all, you are where you are. You are where you are, and where you are is just fine. Even if you have debt, even if you don't have the love of your life or the job of your dreams, you learn how to focus. Learn who you are. Learn who we are. What the field is, how to work with it, what you put out is what you get back. It's just a fundamental law of the universe. And the live show is still going to hear me do this, but I have to cough. All right, here I am back. The recording is back. So let's talk about our design. And we're assuming Nassim Haramein's mathematics. It does not contradict in any way any of this information. As a matter of fact, to me it bolsters the idea that all of my information, all of the information of the entire universe is encoded within the Planck field of every proton, of every bit of matter anywhere, to me only bolsters the idea that my inner being is privy to all the information of the universe. My inner being, of course, this is how my inner being knows who I am, where what I want is, how the leaves are falling, how my blood is flowing, how your blood is flowing, how the wind is blowing, how the stars are spinning. And how does she know all of that? Because all of the information of all the physical universe is encoded in the Planck field of all the physicality, which is what you would call a proton. A proton is a little vortex of physicality. And within its Planck field is encoded all the information of the universe. Uploaded, not instantaneously, it takes, for the information on the other side of the universe to get to this side of the universe, it takes one spin of my protons. One turn, and there it is. Every Planck, the universe is jiggling together. That 0 point energy is all of the Plancks interacting with all of the Plancks all of the time. Like this cosmic interference pattern, but that then sorts itself out relationally. The stuff that's close to you gets seen closer up because it is of closer importance. So you have all the information of the other side of the universe, but it's not, it's in a bigger data packet. There's different scales of this data flowing to you. And there's your physicality ends up here right in this middle range. It's somewhere, it's halfway between the universal scale and the Planck scale. And here we are in physicality, right here at the bridge, and how interesting that that's the scale where biology develops, So who am I? Who am I, and how does this work? What are the laws of the universe? Well, let's see. We could review some of my old stuff that I used to do all the time. I used to think I had to do all of this stuff every day. It was like every day was like Groundhog Day. And I started at the beginning, and it was like trying to describe. And I would have my list of things that I had to pull in. There's the five things that you can't do anything about. This is just the structure of the universe. The first one is, and I don't know that these are all, that there's a particular order, but you exist, and there's nothing you can do to change that. You exist. You will exist forever, one way or another. I think you can gather yourself or scatter yourself, but you exist, and you are the I am, actually, ultimately. And you can identify with that, even as the small thing you are. You can still identify with the I am that you are also, always. We all are. You exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. Everything is here and now. These are Bashar things. I don't want to have to go find this. What you put out is what you get back. That's the only thing that's the only one that you have that there's any action for you in. The rest is all just describing the nature of the universe. Everything is here and now. There's nothing you can do to change that. And I haven't thought about these for a while, so forgive me. They'll come back to me. There's the 7 things you need to survive as a physical being, in order, general order of how quickly you will go still if you don't have these things: air, water, sleep. Interestingly, you will die. You will go psychotic and die without sleep, generally, before you would without food. Now, there's exceptions. There's people on both sides of that one, but sleep is really important. You have to keep communing with the greater self that you are, or your individual self will go psychotic and stop. The whole group knows that that's not a good thing. Let's see. Air, water, sleep, food, shelter. Does not have to be a house. It just needs to be any sort of sheltering environment conducive to whatever your physical body, can support. And then relationship does not have to be with another of your own species, but relationship. And then finally, expression. If you do not find a way to express yourself, well, I think that you start going into states of negative emotion, for one thing. And then that can take you off the rails. You could go the depressed route, or you could go the chaotic, I'm going to, whatever. Who am I? Who am I? Now, the steps of creation from Abraham's point of view go more like this. Step one is you banging around in the physical world come across contrast. And by contrast, that's her nice way of saying things that you do not like in the physical world. So there's stuff that you like and there's stuff that you don't like. And that's the contrast. You know, the contrast between the things that you like and the things that you don't like. So contrast causes you to ask for more. So maybe you're in a developing ecosystem where very few of the niches have been filled yet. And so things are less physically comfortable than they could be. You know, so you're well, I can imagine this all the way down to the forest floor, where creatures moving around the forest floor are hungry and asking for food. You know, contrast causes you to ask for, here's another one that I like to imagine, and you can see how things have gotten better. This is why this is one of the ones I like to think about, because we see our lives so incrementally. A lot of people don't realize how freaking much better things are now than they used to be. Now, I know that my 99-year-old father and his wife, who's about 10 years younger than him, they look back on a golden era of their own youth and their own ability to move around the world. And they see the past as a better place than the present. And human beings tend to get screwed up that way. We tend to get turned around. The fact is things are getting better and better and better and better. And you don't realize they're getting better because you might tend to be focused on some aspect of it that is something that you don't like. Now, first of all, I want to... I can jump around too much. The one that I like, the visualization that I like to point at is, for many, many years, humanity used an outhouse. And many of us, I'm sure, sent up rockets of desire for better, for better, for better. Those outhouses were freaking cold in the winter, stinky and horrible in the summer, and full of black widow spiders, by the way. Did you know that that is where the black widow spiders got us most often, is when we used the outhouse? And so for centuries, I'm sure mankind was sending up rockets of desire. This bit of contrast was sending up rockets of desire for more, for better. And now, more human beings than have ever in all of time now use indoor bathrooms with indoor plumbing, hot and cold running water, flush toilets, all kinds of wonderful things. Now, that has also created new problems. Now we've got to go, wait a minute, we can't shit in all of our water because we need water. So what are we going to do about that? So how do we treat it afterwards? And actually, there's this wonderful, wonderful water treatment system plant. It's an area, a whole resource area in the East Valley of Phoenix. It's actually Mesa, where it's a water reclamation area where water is treated, and it's a whole recreational area with wetlands, and there's a park area and all kinds of stuff. And what it is they've made this, so what they've done is they've worked with natural systems, and they are co-creating with nature as best they can as we learn who we are and how to do things. We get better. We all want better. We all want more. So I never finished the steps of creation from Abraham's point of view. Step 1, contrast causes you to ask. And your inner being, this is how she describes it, rides a rocket of that desire to, and it holds that knowing of the farthest direction that you went, that knowing of what you want. It holds that frequency. I'm holding that frequency that you want. Now, you didn't have to emanate the positive one. You may have emanated the negative one. But there is a implicate on the other side of that wave. The implicate positive on the other side of that negative wave that was created, that your inner being is standing right there now, holding it, calling you that direction. Come this way, come this way. Recognize this feeling and think. So, step 1, contrast causes you to ask. Step 2, source answers. Source answers by holding the positive frequency and holding it and holding it and holding it. And now it is like a beacon guiding you to better thoughts, guiding you to impulses that would lead you down pathways that you would find delightful and fun and joyful and what you want. Your inner being is trying to guide you to what you want. It's not an outside otherness of God that's trying to get you to behave yourself, be good, for the bigger group. Although there is an element of that, but it's not what you think it is. Your inner being is you and is trying to guide you to what you want. And it knows what you want because every time you proclaimed it, every step of your path, she remembered, and she's standing right where what you want is, where what you love is. Where it's a frequency, and that frequency is who you are. And so when you in your physical mind think thoughts that are in phase with that frequency, you get a boost. You go like, oh, that feels really good. And it feels good because it's in alignment with who you are. And when you think small, mean, petty, angry, bitter, blameful, shameful, guilty, any of those thoughts, think any of those thoughts about yourself or anyone else, it hurts you because you have just gone out of phase with who you really are. You're going to lose your energy. You're going to grow chaotic. If you're not careful, you're going to develop disease, and at some point you're going to expire. Now, you might say, well, I was going to anyway. Yes, probably, because of where we are in our human evolution. But the fact is when you start understanding how this works, you realize that you actually don't have to. You actually don't have to go out of coherence. It's not absolutely necessary that you do. It's just that in order to not go out of coherence, you've got to understand how it works, who you are, what the field is, how to work with the field, how to... and I still haven't finished Abraham's steps of creation, because it's 1, 2, 3. I've gone 1, 2. Now what's 3? Your physical self now has to get into alignment with what your source self just answered. It's you either getting on board with your inner being or getting out of the way so that you aren't interfering with what she's doing. Step one, life causes you to ask for more. Holocaust and World War II, or World War, let's just say World War, because I don't like to say World War I and World War II. You start putting the ordinals on it, and the foolish start thinking World War III, World War IV, World War X. You know, we aren't going to survive if there is such a thing as World War III. Let's just know that right there. If we go all the way to World War III, then consciousness is just going to have to figure it out on another planet or on another century or something, because humanity is not going to make it if we go World War III. I think of the World War as being only one that we were re-invited back to by Hitler and his circle of friends who were not done with World War I. They were bitter and aggrieved, and they wanted to see that through. They thought Germanness would win because they were the master race, and they were better than everybody else, and so of course they would win. No matter what they did, everything they did was better than what anybody else did because they were the master race. Well, of course they were wrong, and so anyway, but that was just one war. Parts 1 and 2. So war causes humanity to want peace. Holocaust causes humanity to want kindness and understanding, and makes me want all of us to understand the actual meaning of our positive and negative emotions. In a way, you're not wrong about something. But if you're standing on something conditional, then the thing that you're not wrong about is quite small, and the perception of it is pretty individual from where you're standing. And so if you're standing all on that conditional thing, then you've got a problem. But we are all right. Every single one of us is right. Even all of you out there, griping about things with your aches and your pains, and you're pissed off about this and angry about that. It's not that you're wrong. You're right in a way, but you're wrong about how to get better, how to make it better. There's nothing broken. The system works just fine. And so what we have to do is understand how come we keep getting so much of what we don't want. It's because we're focusing on what we don't want. You've got to take what you don't want into consideration, but only in your peripheral vision. You see it out the side of your vision. You don't put it in the center of your focus. You don't put evil and bad and horror and all of the things that you don't want right in the center of your focus. That is the equivalent of staring right into the face of the Gorgon. You can't look right at the Gorgon. She turns you to stone. Whatever. You can't function. You don't know what to do. What you do is you look at reflections of it. You keep goodness and hope and light and joy at the center of your focus, and the rest of it is in your peripheral vision, because the center of your focus is where you're going. Your peripheral vision should be showing you where you are. Now, human beings don't understand that in general with human life. We do understand it when you're talking about driving a car. You do understand it. When you're driving a car, you keep the landscape as it whizzes past you. You are taking it into account. If you didn't, then you would be running into cars, you'd be running off the road, you wouldn't be able to. You have to keep it into consideration, but you're not ultra focusing on the road. You are looking ahead. You're looking where you're going. You're not, if you started focusing, hyper focusing on the exact landscape that you were in, you'd start slowing down, and then the next thing you know, you're staring at the gravel on the road right where you are, and you've gone to a trickle, to a crawl. You can't ever completely stop, because we cannot stop. We are bodies in motion. We are bodies in motion, and whatever direction you're looking, that's the direction you're going. And it's more indicative, the feeling that you've got, the feeling that you're engaged in as you are moving is way more indicative of where you are going than the physical conditions that you are. They don't matter so much. You know, you could close your eyes and just feel it with your heart. Feel your heart and your brain and its knowingness, and put the whole thing together and know that from this perspective, when it feels bad, you know, it's not because somebody else is doing something that they should stop doing. You can't change other people. There is way too many moving parts. There are 8 billion of us, and every one of us has the right to be who we are. You know, get over it. We're here. And we may not be what you want us to be, either as a family member or as a neighbor or whatever. But if you are in alignment with your inner being, that is all anyone could ask, all anyone need ask. And no one should ever ask any more than that of you. Be in alignment with your own inner being. Follow your own star. Oh, did I finish the steps of creation? 1, 2, 3. Step 1, contrast causes you to ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, you've got to allow it to happen. You have to allow well-being to get to you. And if you can't stop griping about that thing that you're upset about, you're not in the state of, how are you ever going to get, maybe you're asking for love and joy. But if you're angry about that thing that you've got that you don't like, how on earth are you ever going to feel that love and joy, even if it's there? And by the way, it is. The love and joy is always there. And it's there for you. You've got to find it in your own heart and soul. And there is a place inside of you where when you line yourself up with yourself, you can leave the whole rest of the world out. You can leave everybody else out of the equation at that point. Now, you turn and face the world holding your inner being's hand firmly in your own. Don't go places in your mind where your inner being isn't. They feel bad for a reason. You need to weave that love and consciousness idea into every thought that you think. Anytime you think a thought that is not where your inner being is, it feels bad. Now, it might be a thought like something like this. Oh, other people are so bad. Look at those people, how bad they are, how ornery they are, what they are doing, and they should do something different. That might be you sitting there thinking that. Your inner being is not thinking that. Your inner being knows damn well why they are doing what they are doing. They are doing it because the object of the exercise, people, is we need to know who we are. We need to know who we are. And so, doing it wrong, louder and louder, in a way, is going to help us. It doesn't seem like it, but it's going to. We're going to understand at some point why we keep getting what we're getting. Because when I look at you doing what you shouldn't be doing, and that's where I'm focused, and that's how I feel, then somehow in this mysterious way I start walking into that universe where that vibration is what's going down. The universe is way bigger than you think it is, for one thing. I live in a universe of my very own. Did you know that? And you live in a universe of your very own. Every single one of us has their very own universe. And then the collective universe is the one that includes all of our universes, and we are all in this together. And so we are connected. I'm not saying my universe is not connected to yours, but I have absolutely different parents than anybody else had. Even than my full siblings, I had absolutely different parents than they had. Completely different experiences than they had. My whole, and we're all like that. So we all kind of need to blow the whole thing up way bigger than we're doing, and quit trying to impose anything on anybody else. The only thing, I'm not trying to impose this on anybody, I'm just trying to share this with people. Understanding, who are we? Who are we, and how do we get more of what we want and less of what we don't want? Learn how to focus, people. Learn how you're feeling is determining the direction that you're moving. And so there isn't anything more important than you getting a grip on your own emotional self. Get an understanding of your own emotional guidance system. And then collectively, as humanity, we need to understand 0-point energy. We need to get back onto true scientific discovery that doesn't just play into the narrative we've got going on right now, the status quo narrative that holds what we've got in place. We need to understand the connected universe, who we really are, how what we put out is what we get back, because it's completely reflective. And so if you're playing the game as a win-lose, then it's playing like a win-lose. And there are losers all around and winners all around, winners and losers. And you think, oh my gosh, this is so correct. It's a win-lose game. But no, it's a malleable universe. It's a very reflective, what you put into the system is what the system's going to belch back to you. Although there is a wholeness truth. It has to do with the Planck field and the nature of consciousness and the nature of the vibrational universe, and your two vibrational minds, your source mind and your physical mind, the one in your physical brain. I see that I am way over an hour, which means I need to stop. But I've had a good show. Let me see whether Indigo ever made it to the space. If you did, I have one viewer, and she has been here for 8 minutes. I had a really good show. So I would advise, come back and listen to the replay. Because I need to get off the air now. I've got to go take a shower, and I have got to go bowling. You were in the room in spirit, I promise you. You were the consciousness that I held to as relevance, knowing that I was not just sitting in an empty room talking to myself like a crazy person. Anyway, I'm going to leave you with my final thought. It's my favorite quote. I think I started the day with this quote. I just can't get over it. It is the line that explains how we are moving. You are where you are, and where you are is just fine. And if you don't like it, that's okay too. Understand how you can move from where you are to more of where you want to be. get more in alignment with your inner being, but you are where you are, and where you are is just fine. But where you are does not last. And how you choose to feel determines the direction in which you move. And so it's all about the direction that you're moving. Which direction are we moving? Are we moving in the direction of healing the planet and understanding, what our problems actually are, and solving all of our big systems problems from a holistic, accurate biotechnological stance? Are we creating abundance, or are we recreating scarcity? Which direction are we looking, and who are we? Who am I? I'll be back tomorrow, and I hope that you can join me as well. It'll be about the same time. I try to hit the air right around 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. I think that's where I am. So if you want to join me, just check for me right then. And otherwise, you can catch me on the replay. I will also post this to my videos. Someday you will be able to also catch me as a podcast when I feel like I'm a little slicker, a little more ready to hit the public airwaves, really with people in the room. I have been on the airwaves for well over a year now, but I was on a very obscure channel for a very long time, and I'm still a pretty specialized channel. I'm in for quality audience right now, not quantity. So until tomorrow, when I hope you will join me, you and many others, I wish you well, I bid you peace, and as always, although it couldn't be otherwise, may the source be with you.